what degree or skill do you need to do that? And what, if you were putting a job description out for a 3D printer modeler, what would the job description say? The title?
It could be a mechanical engineer.
So that's sophisticated, yeah.
That would be the most typical thing, but there's so many types of people using it. You know, there's again, dentists who are
literally dentists are learning how to do CAD drawings.
Yeah. There's kind of specialized dental CAD that literally lets them move teeth around and do things like that.
There's dental CAD?
Yeah.
What's it called?
One company is called 3Shape that makes it. Yeah.
Does that go on top of some other software, or is there some industry standard 3D software that people?
No, it's
what are the
really
top 2 or 3
fragmented.
pieces of software?
There's different CAD for every type of market. So there's like mechanical CAD, dental CAD, movie and entertainment industry CAD.
You're kidding! I had no idea.
We take models from all those different software for different applications.
What is the standard for a model? Like, what's the PDF or the JPEG of?
It's called an STL.
STL.
Yeah.
And you just feed it in STL and it makes it.
Yeah. We take STLs from all the software, and then we have to have a lot of intelligence on our side of software to be able to deal with each one of those types of software kind of doesn't output great STLs, so we have to process that.
Yeah, and you also have to know if the person has made something that the printer's capable of printing.
Yeah, and that's actually a huge part of our innovation is in exactly that. Typically, before we got started, you'd have mechanical engineer type person who's trained on using a printer, who looks at what you're trying to print, figures out how to orient it. Is it going to print it this way or that way? Adds support structures that hold up the part, and sort of designs a process for that printer to print that part. We had to automate all of that if we want, because making the printers cheaper doesn't necessarily make them more accessible if they're just as difficult to use. That was part of what that hobbyist movement sort of missed, is the printers got cheaper, but they were still really difficult to use. So we've also made them more accessible, and that it hasn't made them a consumer product yet, but it's gotten them to way more professionals and way more industries.
Here's a stupid question. I've also been pitched on businesses or seen them at like demo days where they say, we make the machine, the cameras that will take this cup, do a bunch of cameras in a circle around it. I don't know what they call that. And
Photogrammetry.
Grammetry?
Photogrammetry.
Photogrammetry.
Yeah, it's when you take a lot of photos and reconstruct a 3D model from
Got it. Do you make that device as well? Who makes that device? How much does that device cost?
There's software you can literally use on your phone to do photogrammetry. It's you get mixed results, but
so you just literally walk around
an object. Yeah,
you put it on a pedestal and you walk around it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, there's like this ecosystem of CAD software, 3D scanning technology, and so different companies are working on different parts of that, and we have to kind of work with all those companies.
So we're getting to the point where somebody would be able to put a part for, this is the other one I would get. It's like you're on a desert island or you're on Mars and something breaks. So instead of bringing, to your Mars colony 10 different backups of every single part, you just bring one 3D printer, and then you put the part into the 3D printer. If you hadn't already made a model of it, it just takes a picture of it and makes it. How far away from that?
NASA's actually launched a 3D printer to the International Space Station already, and they've done some experiments with that. They've printed some parts out, so it's getting there. Yeah, the bigger part that's honestly missing from making something like that happen is you want to design those parts for 3D printing. It's hard to take something you made with a different process and then just translate to 3D printing and get the same result. But if you designed your Mars colony with everything designed to be 3D printed, then that's pretty much a reality today.
Oh, wow. So is there an application on planet Earth that does that? Where you're like, it's hard to get here. It's the North Pole, and we're going to build our base station in Antarctica or the Arctic and say, everything's 3D printed, send a 3D printer, a bunch of spools or whatever, resins. What do you call the resins you do?
We call them resin, yeah.
Yeah, resin. Okay, wow, it's a technical term for resin. But it's not in a spool.
It's in a liquid. It's kind of in this black cartridge.
Really? Show it. I want to see it. I didn't know they were in the goo. So this is sort of like Prometheus, right? The goo from Aliens?
Yeah,
that's what you make in Ohio?
Looks...
it does look like the goo from Prometheus?
It does look like the goo from Prometheus. I'll show you...
And just as a total aside, Max, how great is Prometheus as a science fiction film? It's so underrated, correct?
It is great. It is underrated. I love...
You've seen it... I'm going to set the over-under at 3.5. You've seen it more than 3 times or 4 times. How many times have you seen Prometheus?
At least twice. Yeah, maybe 3.
Yeah. It's so good. It's like Gladiator or Goodfellas when you're changing channels and you hit on Prometheus.
The Android,
you're going to watch it to the end.
Fassbender as an android. He's already kind of an
Fassbender's amazing.
He's already an android, and so it works perfectly.
Yeah, no, I mean he's the android of actors. I'm sure he would appreciate that.
Yeah.
Unlike Christian Bale. No. Here we go. Look at this printer. So here's the pinpoint. Look at that lattice work there. That looks like the Eiffel Tower or something.
Yeah, you can make really fine structures with this process. So this is what's inside the machine. There's this laser, we call it the LPU, light processing unit, that scans the laser back and forth, and then it comes into the bottom of a liquid tank of resin, and the part actually emerges vertically.
From that resin.
Yeah, T1000 style.
Yeah, T1000, right, like a Terminator. And what do your 3D printers start at now? What's the range of cost?
Starts at about $3,500.
Cheap.
Yeah.
And that's for an industrial one, or that's more like consumer? Prosumer?
That's our flagship product. That's bought by professionals in all these industries.
No, it used to be that the spools were really expensive. You wanted to build like let's just call it like a grapefruit size object. How much plastic resin? I know it depends on the density, but just ballpark. Is it $1 to $10 to print something in plastic, or is it $50 to print something in plastic?
This size part might be $10 a resin. We charge $150 per liter, so depends how big your part is.
Right, and how dense it is, right?
Yeah. Typically, you're not making like solid. You don't make a solid sphere.